India's deepening divide, a reflection of global inequality. India, a country of immense cultural heritage and diversity, is also marked by significant socio-economic divisions. Exhibiting symptoms typical of third-world nations, India faces an alarming widening gap between the very rich and the very poor. This growing disparity is not just an Indian issue, but a reflection of a global problem where the success of a nation is increasingly measured by a handful of billionaires, rather than the overall prosperity of its middle class and the reduction of poverty. This essay delves into the historical and contemporary factors contributing to this divide, the role of corrupt leadership, and the broader implications of such a global pattern. Historical context, colonial legacy, and structural issues. India's history of colonialism has left enduring scars on its political and economic structures. British colonial rule, which lasted for almost 2 centuries, systematically drained India's wealth, dismantling local industries and creating a legacy of economic exploitation and administrative corruption. The boundaries drawn during colonial times have also contributed to ongoing regional and communal conflicts, making India vulnerable to both internal and external manipulations. Post-independence, India adopted a democratic system, but the colonial legacy continued to influence its governance and economic policies. The Nehruvian socialist model aimed at reducing inequality through state-controlled enterprises and land reforms, but it often resulted in bureaucratic inefficiencies and corruption. Despite some successes in industrialization and self-sufficiency in food production, the benefits of economic growth were not equitably distributed. The modern divide, wealth and power concentration. In recent decades, economic liberalization policies initiated in the 1990s have led to significant economic growth. However, this growth has disproportionately benefited a small segment of the population. According to Oxfam, India's top 1% holds more than 4 times the wealth of the bottom 70%. The presence of billionaires like Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani starkly contrasts with the widespread poverty and underdevelopment in rural areas. This concentration of wealth is mirrored in the concentration of political power. A few powerful families and business conglomerates dominate Indian politics and economy, influencing policy decisions to favor their interests. The nexus between political elites and business tycoons perpetuates a cycle of corruption and exploitation, marginalizing the poor and hindering genuine democratic governance. The global dimension, a pattern of control. The issues faced by India are not unique, but part of a global pattern of inequality and exploitation. Corrupt leaders, often installed by powerful global elites, manipulate political systems to maintain control and extract resources. Influential figures and institutions, like the World Economic Forum, are seen by some as instruments of a cabal of powerful families, such as the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, who allegedly pursue a New World Order agenda. These elites are accused of using various means, including creating wars, spreading fear, and fostering chaos, to maintain their dominance. By manipulating religion, they pit populations against each other, diverting attention from the real sources of their plight. The control over food supply, energy, and financial systems is central to this strategy, as highlighted by Henry Kissinger's famous dictum, "Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Who controls money can control the world." The illusion of democracy. In many countries, including India, the facade of democratic elections masks the reality of manipulated leadership. Populations are often misled into believing they have a say in choosing their leaders, but the true power lies with the influential families and foreign powers who back certain candidates. These leaders, once in power, prioritize the interests of their sponsors over those of the general populace, facilitating the exploitation of natural resources and cheap labor. Deals with foreign powers, notably the US and the UK, further entrench this exploitation. These arrangements often involve the extraction of natural resources and the establishment of favorable conditions for multinational corporations, which benefit a few at the expense of the many. The resulting economic policies keep the majority of the population impoverished, ensuring a steady supply of cheap labor and maintaining the status quo of inequality. Conclusion. India's significant socio-economic divide is a microcosm of a broader global issue where wealth and power are increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few. The historical legacy of colonialism, coupled with modern economic policies and corrupt leadership, has perpetuated a cycle of inequality and exploitation. This pattern is not confined to India, but is a global phenomenon driven by powerful elites who manipulate political and economic systems to maintain their dominance. To address these issues, it is crucial to foster genuine democratic processes, equitable economic policies, and vigilant citizenry aware of the manipulations at play. Only then can the true measure of a nation's success be reflected in the prosperity and empowerment of all its citizens, not just a privileged few.